Namaskar, bhai aur behno. Good evening, friends. I'm back with you with one of my series which I like very much. That is about Know Bharat. There has been gap about knowing Bharat for many reasons. I've been trying to put together some states and some panelists. Finally, I've got one wonderful panel for Karnataka. People will say after so many months, how Karnataka has come now being a premium state. But then that's how the things move. So my apologies. And I think today will be a wonderful day to know Karnataka. We know Karnataka only as an IT hub, as a venture capitalist heaven, as a startups heaven. But Karnataka is much more than that. It's one of the most ancient lands, one of the land of great valor, land of history, land of culture. So today we'll speak more about those aspects which people don't know much. To talk about IT, talk about number of units, etc. is past. So I will not talk about that. So today I have got with me a wonderful panel, beginning with Chhaya Nanjappa ji. She's a great woman entrepreneur who has started a fresh first generation entrepreneur from Kodavas, from a tribal belt. And she has adopted me as her brother. She is Snehamayi, so much Sneha that flows for everybody. And she is founder of Nectar Fresh. And Nectar Fresh is a setup for tribal women and village people who make all organic food and various items in the health chain. And as a company from farm for fork, that is how I can define it. Slowly, she has opened many outlets. She is allied now with Khadi Commission in Karnataka and also nationally. She is a member of Food Processing Indian Institute of Food Technology, International Institute of Food Processing Technology. And she has won many awards, including one from CNBC as Woman Entrepreneur of 2014. She is a counselor, she is a motivator, she is a resource person and a speaker. Now she has started Naman, which is a step towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, where she will be supporting nearly 2,000 tribal and village artisans with sustainable products in the market for the people. So, and she's of course very proud Hindu. She is a proud Kodava. She is a national trustee of Vishwa Hindu Parishad and also vice president of Laghu Udyog Bharati. I think too much for a first-time entrepreneur. Then we have Shreeraj Gudi. Shreeraj Gudi is assistant professor at Manipal Institute of Communications. He has worked after finishing his journalism 5 years in ANI, Inadu TV9 in Delhi as a journalist. Then he is recipient of World University Norway's Erasmus Mobility Award. He has interacted with many people. Now he has started a project, International Folklore Research, in collaboration with Janapada and what is the institute? Deakin Institute University.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And last but not least, another proud Kodava, Vicky Nanjappa. I have been reading him since long time, since the day he started maybe as a journalist, which shows my age. And he has done many reports and many interviews which are landmark. And he is an objective journalist whom you cannot really pin down to any ideology or any inclination. That's what I like about him. You can read his reports very happily without trying to color what he says. So that is the beauty of his journalism. He began as a journalist in Kodagu district itself. Then he was in Rediff for many years. Now he's in One India. His preferred field is internal security. He has covered Islamic State in India. And he has also covered Uri and Balakot surgical strikes, 26/11 attacks. And he says his most interesting story and his closest to his heart is his own narco analysis experience, on which he has written also. So we have one who has tried to test his own honesty, I would say. So with this, I start the topic. As I said, there are many things about Karnataka we don't know. For example, is the largest coffee exporter in India. We know Vijayanagar Empire, but I think many Indians have not even visited Hampi. We'll talk about that later. It's a land of Valour, Halibut, and Shravan-Belgola. It is land of wonderful architecture, wonderful temples. I remember going to Valour, Halibut when I was feverish with a college trip. We reached in the evening very tired, but as soon as I entered the temple, everything was gone. All the tiredness was gone. It is awe-inspiring. It is too good and too fluid and too, wonderful to even explain unless you go there. And then we have oldest rock formations in Bengaluru with 3,000 million old rock formations. Royal Palace of Mysore, I didn't know, is second most visited place in India after Taj Mahal. Of course, the land of great warriors, Kodavas, and we have General Karyappa, General Thimaiya from the same community. It's a land of classic music, Carnatic music. I am told Pandit Bhimjan Joshi is also from Karnataka. And the first Sanskrit-speaking village, Muttur, is also from Karnataka. It has the largest tiger population. And who can forget Swami Vidyaranya, who was a great social reformer and who inspired Harihara and Bukka to create Vijayanagar Empire. And one thing that's very interesting, that only Karnataka Khadi Village Gramodaya Commission is licensed to manufacture the national flag. That is very, very wonderful thing I came to know. Of course, it's the birthplace of River Kaveri, the biggest, the mightiest river in South. With this introduction, when I didn't talk anything about IT, I'll begin with the first question to all the panelists. When you think of Karnataka, what do you think of? I'll begin with Chhaya ji. See, there are two Kodagus. So as I was worried, I said, I need somebody from the North Kannada, that is Karnataka. That is how Shreeraj ji came to picture. And I searched for him because I needed somebody to represent Karnataka, because North Karnataka has its own history and story. So Chhaya ji, what do you think of Karnataka? When you think of Karnataka, what does come to your mind first?
Namaste, Ratanji. Such a pleasure to be with you all. Karnataka, our Karnataka, one word I could sum it up as one state, many world. That's probably how Karnataka can be best defined. This beautiful state proves to be one of the oldest civilizations in the country, and it stands apart from the rest of the states with its enthralling history, rich and varied cultural heritage. In fact, we from Karnataka feel so proud to be born in this blessed state. And with this, I think I summed it up what it feels to be from Karnataka.
You talked about languages. I was surprised to know that Karnataka has the largest number of spoken languages, 13 in all.
Yes, yes.
Apart from Kannada language, also Tamil and Telugu is spoken in many areas. So, yeah. So, Vicky, what does come to your mind when you talk of Karnataka?
Ratanji, for me, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. And for me, there are two things that come to mind. It is the land of Kaveri for me. That is what we worship. One, okay, that is one thing. It's a land of Kaveri. But I will go to this one about diversity. I have a lot of friends who come to meet me from outside. It's our masala dosas, it's our idlis, it's our bisi bele bath, it's our chow chow bath, it's our kara bath, it's the food which is so unique in Karnataka, because I have gone to many states and things. The first thing I start missing is the food, actually. Okay, and then we go down, of course, akki roti is my weakness. That is one thing. So that thing, considering my wife is from the great state of Maharashtra, the land of Chhatrapati Shivaji. She learned to make the akki roti for me because, food is our weakness out here. And every weekend, we make it a point either to go to Central Tiffin Room or to say Janardhan, because the dosas are very unique, or Airlines Hotel. That is what Karnataka is for me. And one more thing, Ratanji, I want to say, the people of Karnataka, if you have a person from France who's coming, even if a person knows 2 words of French, he will talk to him in French to make him feel comfortable. That is Karnataka for me.
I think that is why people are, attracted to Karnataka like bee to the honey.
Yes.
And in fact, my daughter-in-law was in Bangalore for a training, and she didn't want to leave Karnataka. Then my now son was there for training. He missed it. Now, when they have gone as a transfer to Bangalore, both of them still say, that you should also come to Bangalore. Forget about Mumbai. So that's the beauty of Karnataka. Most welcoming people. Apart from sometimes suddenly some people flare up into some kind of linguistic, hot-headed. So Shreeraj, being from the North Karnataka, what is your mind when you think of Karnataka? What do you think of? What comes to your mind?
Thank you for having me on this panel. For me, being from side of the North Karnataka, and currently I'm representing in the last nearly a decade, 8 years, I'm here in this coastal line of Karnataka. Maybe I'm for a very long time associated with the field of education. Probably the first thing that comes to mind is the education. Apart from the IT and IT-related issues, but Karnataka is known for its education, science and technology development, research, ISRO. We have Indian Institute of Sciences. So, in that sense, for the knowledge hub, that's what the Karnataka looks for me. And another thing that I would like to say or add up to this panel, because I'm from the side of the North Karnataka, and that is the land of Valour, wherein the first war of independence, probably first victory over the Britishers, was established way before the official, the first war of independence in 1824 itself. So, in that sense, the Valour and the Shauryas, specifically so that comes to my mind, being from that side of the Karnataka. Third part is, as Vicky was mentioning about the physical bath and other food and other activities. The people who took these food items to the rest of the countries and rest of the world, that is the area that currently I'm with, the coastal line, the migrants who shifted from here to the Mumbai and then to the Middle East and other countries. They took this very the taste of this land to the rest of the world. And so in that sense, the migrant people also comes to my mind when it comes to the Karnataka part.
True. So since I talked about land of Valour, I would ask you about Vijayanagar Empire. Shreeraj, what do you think? Because I think Vijayanagar Empire is an empire about which not many people knew. In fact, I was reading that British officer came to know about Vijayanagar, and he is the one who researched on the entire issue, and in history books it was forgotten chapter. Even today it's not part of our history books. So can you give a little more elaboration on Vijayanagar Empire?
Well, probably it is one of the highly ignored part of our history, that we have very less studies about the Vijayanagar Empire, both academically as well as even in the sense of the tourists and visitors, and probably portraying it as one of our main symbols of the state. So, but otherwise also that there is a good number of visitors to Vijayanagar. But Vijayanagar, more than Vijayanagar, for me, it looks the Anjanadri, wherein Lord Hanuman, that's the birthplace of Lord Hanuman. And even if you look at today, the place, even in that place, so the entire area looks like, it's not, definitely not, the formations are not the new, like they are very, 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 very old one. If you consider the birth, Dapa Yuga, so nearly that the entire formation of the Deccan Plateau was of 8 lakhs, it goes back to the 8 lakhs years. So that much of a old formations that we have in that particular region. Second, very important part is that establishing of Vijayanagara story is not about only the creating of one empire. It's more than an empire, because how a collaborative, a guru and a shishya, or maybe if you use in a much more a guru chela relations, if you use it. So in that sense, how a guru can guide his disciples in order to establish Dharma. So that is most important. And what we learn from Vijayanagara is that's what for me, the stories of Krishna Devaraya and for the further construction, the styles, and specifically the entire the Krishnadevara family, the Telugu family that ruled this in this country. But still, they nurtured the very roots of this land. And post Vijayanagara, if you look in the post Vijayanagara thing also, that yes, the recording parts is still a major question, as well as the restoration is also one of the major. That's what whenever I visit Hampi, that what pinches me on this.
Right. And Vicky, since you talk of Valour of Kannada people, especially of Kodava people, so what else comes to your mind? Because of course I have deliberately not thought about Tipu Sultan, because if I talk of Tipu Sultan, Kodavas come naturally. So how would you look at that particular period of Karnataka?
Sir, see, I'll be very honest with you. I am not very proficient with the very ancient history, but what comes to my mind and very closest. There was one incident which I want to narrate. I had gone to the RTO office in Madikeri, and there was a small thing, and we realized that the RTO office was actually the house of General Timaya, actually. So we wanted to start a campaign out there saying that, the home of such a great warrior, soldier of the country, I mean, cannot be housed in an RTO office, which we consider to be one of the most corrupt places. So for me, Valour, we say that the land of the generals, General Karyappa, General Timaya and all that, we've actually grown up listening to their stories. And I have been to General Karyappa's funeral, the first commander-in-chief, and when, Nehru said, why don't you ask for reservation in exchange of this one? And when he says, let the Kodavas fight for themselves. So, stories of Valour are there for me, because that is, part of my childhood. That's what I remember in part of history. And then, even when I talk to his son or his daughter, it's, you feel so proud. And there's one more thing I wanted to share. Field Marshal General Karyappa got the Field Marshal post very late, actually. Once Field Marshal Manekshaw had come down, he said, in one speech, he had said, you may have your first commander-in-chief from here, but you still don't have a Field Marshal, And he only laughed it off, So that was the greatness of this man. And I feel that while we have a lot documented about Field Marshal General Karyappa, we don't have too much on General Timaya, actually. That's probably to do with the fact that the family is not around. So for me, Valour comes from there, actually. The pride of being a Kodava comes from the fact that, you're from the land of Field Marshal. When I go to Lucknow, I see a statue of his. I go to Delhi, there is an enclave. It just makes you cry. Actually in Lucknow, I started crying when I saw that Field Marshal enclave. That is what a story of Valour for me from Karnataka is, actually.
Wonderful. Chayaji, since I met you in your own home in that place itself, your home place, your belt of your village. So how you would, of course, the Kodagu people never forget the atrocities of Tipu Sultan. And I don't know exact numbers, but from what I hear from various sources, 31 times Kodavas defeated Tipu Sultan. And unfortunately, they didn't finish him off. So that is a lesson also. But as a woman of that place, I would also like to know, want to know from you how you can describe the status of women in that area, because then it's very important. We keep on hearing about our Hindu society and women, etc. So definitely, being an old ancient society, what is the place of women in Karnataka and also specifically in your own Kodava belt?
In fact, I would like to correct you there, Ratanji. We have won against Tipu Sultan 33 times.
Okay.
And
wonderful.
We are so proud of it. We are so proud of it. And just like our men, we women in Kodagu have been really, we have made our presence wherever, whichever field we have got it to. And I would say that whichever field we have opted for, we have been always supported. We are a tribal community. I think you are aware of it, Ratanji. We are actually a tribal.
To know, because it's also is query I will have, because I know about it. What is the percent of tribal people in Karnataka?
If you ask me, I exactly don't know the
Any rough guess.
I think Vicky would be maybe better aware on that aspect. But I would say that the most prominent tribals in Karnataka, we have the Soliga tribals. They are basically from Ranganthittu, I'm sorry, it is close to BR Hills. They are in the BR Hills, that is close to Chamrajnagar. And then we have the city tribals. They are from the Belagavi region. And the other tribals, we would be the prominent tribal people, be it our attire, be it our culture. It is so similar to that particular region. And if you see our food habits, it is also typically of the tribals. We have a very unique food of our own. I think you tasted a bit of it when you are there. Women in...
Yeah. I remember the food you served in your program. I still remember it. Yes. Very different.
It's typically a very unique one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And about women in Karnataka, but from Karnataka, you truly have seen some of them really shining out now. But I think it has always been over a period of time. Women have been known for their valor, like Abbaka Rani, we have Pittu Chennamma, and who doesn't know about Onike Obawa? And now you have women like Kiran Majumdar making her presence felt, and Sudha Murthy. She has taught us to be so humble with success. I mean, it's a rarity that to have women like her inspiring so many across the globe. And you have, many more women who have silently made their significant presence felt. And I, as a Kodava woman, I could openly say that we are encouraged tremendously there, and everywhere, whatever step we take, there has never been a step where they have said no obstacle anywhere. They've encouraged us all the way.
You want to add anything to that, Shreeraj? What she has said about women in Karnataka?
Well, women in Kannadigas, I would like to add a tribal that what we have raised. That is a very interesting part. That probably when it comes to the Karnataka's culture and tradition, we have probably somewhere we have forgotten the contributions of the tribal communities in the entire history. If you look at. For many of us or many people, many tribal communities, specifically in the central India and northern India, today Birsa Munda looks like a Bhagwan Birsa Munda, that he has attained the status of a god or probably Daiva, what we call in the southern Indian in Karnataka. So, but we have the similar figure Rayana, who fought against the Britishers, but he was hanged. And this very contribution was got in 1824. But even after that, there are hardly any focus. I'll tell you the place where Rayana was hanged in Belgaum district near Khanapur. And this place, the local community, they go to there after the marriage, and they tie a knot to that particular tree, banyan tree where he was hanged, and they pray for please, Rayana should come back to our houses. He should take a rebirth into the community. So that is the belief and we have with that particular personality of Rayana. And in fact, if you consider and narrate how he built the army against the Britishers and how he helped the Rani Chennamma to establish her first victory against the British community and all those things. So in that sense, probably we have missed one of our major contributions with respect to the tribal, secondly, the Marathi community, what we have. In the entire, if you look at the Sahyadri belt, the southern Sahyadri belt, in the southern Sahyadri belt, starting from Belgaum to or till the Kur, we have the central Karnataka that passing through Chikmagalur, Shimoga, and this Malnad region, the entire Malnad region. You will find a lot of the Soliga community. We have one of the fantastic communities that, and we have Malekudiyas, another interesting, though they were misguided for a great extent, but they have made a very fantastic comeback into the community nowadays. And we have Siddhi communities, very interesting community, another, like who were brought from the Africa to work here for the landlords, and subsequently they were left here. And today they have if you look at the integration part of any of the over a period of time, and Siddhis have made a fantastic integration into the Indian communities, and they are no less, but we have not used them to the greatest of the extent. So those are the things that the things that probably the Karnataka still has to look into with respect to their contribution and subsequently their part into this the development of this particular land. As far as the women's contribution is concerned, Chhaya has mentioned the names from starting from Channamma to Sudhamurthy. So she has covered probably almost all the issues with respect to that. And but I would like to add one additional thing, that as I currently living in the coastal part of the Karnataka, the coastal culture is such that here the women are more encouraged in the family. Like probably there are many houses, especially with respect, I would like to talk about the Bunts community, wherein there is a culture called Aliyakattu. It is not the family, family is the women oriented, the mother oriented family. So the property that passes through to the daughter. In fact, Bunts is one community wherein they cry if there is no the female child in that family. So that's a very interesting point that I would like to add. It is not only the male dominated society that what we talk about elsewhere in the world, but here
when you say Bunts, you talk about Shetties, which people know more about Shetties than Bunts. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all.
Great. So, in fact, it is very interesting. Siddhis also landed in Gujarat. They also have a community there in Gujarat. They are Siddhis, and they still look very much like Africans, and they have adopted, of course, Gujarati, etc. But they still carry some of the dance forms, etc. Vicky, what about when I talk about culture? So, what would you like to add about? Do you have any? How much you could talk about the temples that Karnataka has? Some of the most beautiful temples.
For me, I mean, I'll be very biased. For me, I would not call that a temple. It's actually heaven. It's the Talakaveri temple for me. That is the biggest one, and the Chamundi Hills. I mean, these are the two most important temples for. But why? I mean, without sir sounding biased or something, why I would say Talakaveri, Bhagamandla are two great temples, because everything, right from birth to marriage to death, everything is associated there. All the rituals take place there. And of course, we just go down up to Talakaveri, and then, it just transforms you, actually. I mean, whoever's watching this program, if I have to tell them that if you've not visited Talakaveri, you please do visit. But then, yes, I would also say, I sometimes feel very concerned, when I see people coming there in their Bermudas and shorts, and, that's not respecting, I mean, not my culture, it's not respecting Hindu culture, I would say. It's a different place. You have to go through that process, that dip in Bhagamandla, and then, that drive up to Talakaveri and watch. And you actually tend to walk into the clouds. It's that beautiful. For me, I will see that, that is the most important temple for me. And of course, Chamundi Hills, I absolutely just love that also. The kind of structures and, the kind of carvings and, those kind of, like, Valour, Halabid and, Hampi, all these places. But my sincere request, if you've not been to Talakaveri, then you've not been to, you're actually missing something. It transforms me. So that's what I, relate to.
Chhaya, you have been telling me that I missed so many temples when last I couldn't come to a place because of COVID. So,
sir, I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt. I'm sorry. I want to add the Igutapa temple also, which is also a wonderful place. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Chhaya, so you have been talking of so many temples. So what would you tell people who know only of a couple of temples? What do you tell them about the huge spiritual importance of the temples in Karnataka?
Actually, last time I wanted to take you to Talakaveri, which he mentioned, but you had to return back, but I did take a lot of them there, Sai Deepak ji, everyone and anyone who comes down. I see that all of them are taken to Talakaveri. Like Vicky said, that's one place you should never miss. We consider Thai Kaveri as our presiding deity, and as tribals, we worship nature. And for us, anything we do, auspicious or even after the death in the family or anywhere, we make it a point to visit Thai. And so is this Igutapa temple, where we truly believe in the Kodavas. And Thai Chamundeshwari, I think if you have not visited the temple of our Mysuru to seek Devi's blessing, then you have missed out on something big time. I tell many, and there is this temple called Jwalamukhi. We consider as Thai Chamundeshwari's sister, which I was planning to take you there last time, Ratanji, and I'm just waiting for you to come down soon so that I take you there. Yeah, I should also say that Karnataka is a place of incredible architectural and monumental beauties. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
You like there's a famous song which says Shiligalu Sangeetavaha Adite in Kannada. Each engraving in every monument in Karnataka sings its own song, is what I could say. Architectural monuments, when you speak of Ratanji, among the region, it displays a wide diversity of influences, often relaying much about the artistic sense of the rulers of 12 different dynasties. I'm waiting to take you around all these places next time when you come this side.
Thank you so much.
If I can just add something on a light note, this one. As kids, when we used to go to Igutapa temple, we only used to agree to go with our parents because the food is very good out there.
And I think
Okay, so I'll come to now very different
Dharmasthala, like Dharmasthala, even the food in Dharmasthala is also very good. That's another great temple, sir, Dharmasthala. And then we have Shrishti Subramanya also. These are all very good temples.
I thought you were security expert. It seems you are food expert also.
Yes.
I think you've heard of the Hampi monuments also, Ratanji.
Yes.
Yeah, it is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yes, yes. It's my eternal regret that I have not visited Hampi. I want to visit at leisure. I want to spend 3-4 days there. And when we were young, nobody talked about Hampi. That is a tragedy. And so we visited some temples we knew about, but then we visited some places we knew about. But surprisingly, this was a kind of neglected, huge. I would say one of the best heritage, just like Ajanta Ellora, one of the best heritage sites, which we have not even maintained so well. And of course, Europeans go much more than Indians go there. And Indians treat it as a picnic spot. It's not a picnic spot. It's more of a historic monument than anything else. It reminds us of so many things. It took months together for the invaders, the Muslim Nawabs, to break it down. Just imagine, still so much survives. Now coming to modern times, this is a little contentious. I saw that despite being such a big success in IT, in industry, and manufacturing, etc., GDP, Karnataka is number 6 in GDP, and per capita GDP is number 8. And in terms of Human Development Index, very surprising, it is 19th. And despite having iconic ISC, having great people like Vishweswaraya, C.V. Ramanji, and whatnot. I mean, the best possible, the biggest bankers come from Manipal. Shettis are one of the biggest, richest people and they spread education all over India. If you come to Mumbai, you find Shettis having so many schools and colleges. Then what is it that keeps Karnataka still down in the numbers? Though it is most progressive, most beautiful, most well-connected, every kind of way, because I have traveled Karnataka in many areas. So what is it that holds Karnataka back? I will start from Vicky.
So the thing, I mean, you rightly pointed out, the thing is, what happens is, if you look at it as an entirety, as a state, there's a complete mismatch between, one part of Karnataka and the other part of Karnataka. You can actually see, day and night difference. That is one thing. And that is why I said, there's much more which needs to be done on the North Karnataka front, actually, if you want that balance. Because it's totally, sir, I have seen, there was that battle, to have one bench of the High Court out there. And I know there was, my friend, one lawyer called B.D. Hiramat, the amount he had to fight for it, actually. People traveling 400, 500 kilometers, coming down to Bangalore for litigation and then staying here. And litigation is not cheap also. It took him almost 30, 40 years to get on bench out there. And then we realized, some of the lawyers only from North Karnataka who were objecting to it. So I see that, complete divide. That basically, if you come to south of Karnataka, that's, Bangalore, Mysore, it's a different country. And then you go down, towards, Bidar, Belgaum and all that, that's totally different. So I think there is a complete imbalance, and I think they should stop being so biased towards, this side of Karnataka, which I would call Bangalore, Ramnagar, Maddur, and then, Mandya up to Mysore then. And then again it drops there, near Hunsur, one thing. But there has to be a lot of emphasis which has to be given to the other part of the state, which has contributed so richly into your culture, fought so many valor. So when they come here, you hear them, they said, Idu Madi Kodi, Adu Madi Kodi, this kind, it's totally different. So I think if that imbalance is corrected and the real potential of North Karnataka is actually tapped, then I don't think these numbers would be so low.
So we have a person from North Karnataka. Shreeraj ji, what do you say?
Definitely, if I pick from what Vicky has mentioned about, because I myself have seen as a school kid, the agitation for the demand for the establishment of, the circuit bench, or maybe it was first it was a bench itself, but then circuit bench, and now the permanent bench that been allocated to that. And subsequently, there was a long-term demand for establishing of the IITs. So probably these, and now though there is a big fight for the aims as well. Now they want aims like hospital there in that particular region. Probably for my knowledge and understanding of this entire region, I would like to bifurcate this entire issue because of the nature of the administration that it underwent in the last even the British or the pre-British era. The old Mysore region, the Madras province, and the Chittoor Karnataka, what we call is part of the 4-5 district of North Karnataka, and subsequently the Hyderabad Karnataka, what we call as Kalyan Karnataka, which was under the Nizams. The province which were under the rule of Madras province. So Madras province is basically like, the two units were there. One is Ballari region, another one is the coastal region, were under the Madras provinces. The old Mysore region, what we call today, the central Karnataka and the Mysore region, they were all under, they were ruled by the Wadiyas. One of the best, I'd say that, the royal family that has given them everything, before the, we enter into the era of the freedom. The Mysore region had their own, own power generation units, their planned city, the Bangalore, Mysore, and their irrigation level that they have, by then they had constructed the dams, everything. It was well planned. So, but the other way, if you look at the part of the northern part of the Karnataka, or the Kalyan Karnataka and the Nizam, so both were exploited. If you look at the railways, how they were provided the railways were basically provided to create, the paths for the timber lobbies. So to help the timber lobby, and subsequently that's how our forests were exploited. Our ores, the iron ore minerals were exploited in that particular region. And subsequently, when the people after the freedom, when we attained the freedom, subsequently again there was a strike. Whether there were protests for a very long time. Whether for the integration of the state, and in fact the integration of the state demand started from the North Kannadigas, from Dharma, and from there the center part was that particular area, because they wanted, if we unite politically, then probably some kind of a help can come to this particular area, rather than from this region, from Dharwad, the southernmost region, going up to Mumbai, which was the capital then. Even after independence, because we remained in part of the Mumbai province. So those were some of the political reasons. Another very interesting factor, I must say, that if a farmer feels that he is exploited or because of any other reason from the areas of Mysore, Mandya, or in that Hassan for that matter, for him to reach the political headquarters, it's a matter of 2 to 3 hours. But for the people coming from Bidar to Bangalore, even 3-4 days also they might. So that is one of the reasons that till the time they reach these of the political headquarters, the issues reach the political headquarters, it took really a lot of time. Really a lot of time. That was also one of the prime reasons why the development has not taken place in that particular region. Another one is you mentioned about the bankers.
But if I talk, yes.
Just one point. If I'm mentioning about the bankers from the coastal region. So very interestingly, the the entrepreneurship culture was very much. It is in the blood of this region. In the blood of
your voice is breaking.
Where I have seen. Where I have seen the people from this region, they don't wait for the government to put anything.
Your voice is breaking.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shreeraj, just a moment. I think you need to close the video for some time and only use audio. Your voice is breaking a lot.
Okay.
So close the video for some moments and you can speak, so your voice will come clearer.
Okay, fine. Well, when it comes to the entrepreneurship culture,
please carry on.
The Pais and the Shetties that what we are mentioning, so they had this culture in their blood. So that is where these very coastal regions, they don't wait for anybody to bring the facilities to them. So rather they would invest and create those facilities here. So that is where is missing. For me, it is missing the link between the north and the south. I must say that though Sudhamurthy, Narayanmurthy, and all these IT big, they belong to the region of North Karnataka, but they didn't invest in North Karnataka. So, hello, yeah. So they didn't invest in North Karnataka. Rather, they went to Bangalore back. So to bring one small unit of Infosys to the Hubli, the central area of the North Karnataka, it took more than 20 years. So even the investors also hesitate. There is a lot of hesitancy among investors. So that is where it is. It has, the area has been ignored for a very long time. Another very interesting part, I must say, that the Kaveri, from its origin to till it reaches the Chennai, the entire capacity is around 400 plus TMC. The entire capacity of the river. But we have the Almaty Dam for the Krishna, which has more than 500 TMC. The one single.
Just a Shreeraj.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your voice is breaking. I'll give you a break for 2 minutes while your bandwidth comes. I'll raise a question to other to tell you, get yourself corrected, little bit, because maybe your bandwidth will improve.
Okay.
Since we talk about discrimination inequality between east, south, and the north, what is the number of legislators in terms of number of legislators from north south? So if there are 100, let us say there are 100 MLAs, what percentage comes from north and what percentage comes from south? Vicky, maybe you will be able to tell that much easily.
Not very sure of that figure, sir, but there is a considerable amount of this one representation from North Karnataka, because you know what, a very dominant part of the politicians come from there. But if I look at it again, that has also been the complaint always, that despite having a lot of legislators from north and south, it can be equal also. So there is it's not like it's like at a, I think we've lost Ratanji. So you're mute.
I was asking you, what is the ratio of MLAs between north and the south? Because ultimately it is a question of public policy, right?
That's correct, sir. I mean, if you look at it, that way, even, you take Baswaraj Bommai for that matter, or you take, Mallikarjun Kharge, all the big leaders, and this time even during the elections when Siddaramaiah stood, He also, won from north and he lost from his base constituency down south here. So in that terms, I wouldn't say that there's some great discrimination also. And also one more thing, sir. The thing is, there's also a special session which is held in Belgaum every year, Belgavi, which we call. And in that terms, again, now that is to do more with the border dispute. That is one thing. It's not really translated into, development into the state. But the thing, what happens is, if I look at, many of these legislators from North Karnataka, and I see the big houses they have in Palace Orchards, one of the biggest areas out here, it's like, I don't think they have translated that power and, whatever stature they have, got back to North Karnataka. I mean, it's just an election issue, caste equations, etc., and all those things. They have invested themselves here itself in Bangalore. They have been the first ones, to, oppose any kind of, even the circuit bench. I remember, if you say that, I mean, the permanent bench of the Karnataka High Court out there, they were the first ones to oppose it. They could have done it much earlier. And what were these cases that were coming from North Karnataka? Land-related disputes. There's 10 acres of land, family disputes, and things like that. Litigation becomes very so in terms of number of legislators, there's absolutely no discrimination. There has been a total equal representation, if I would make.
I think there's just a fixation, Bangalore fixation, I would say, that has resulted in this inequality because people rush to area which is much more easier to work in.
Correct.
I would say, rather than try to work back home, because you look at the other way around. If you look at community of Kachis and look at the community of Rajasthanis, they will go back and invest in their villages, even if there is nobody staying there. Very surprisingly, surprised to know there are villages where there are hardly any inhabitants. There are schools where there are hardly any students because from desert areas people come out. But they will go back to village, they will invest in the village, they will raise the village standard. That is something very unique to community of Kutch and community of Rajasthan. So which I think is not happening in Karnataka. It just came to my mind, I think a very, very important issue that was raised. Shreeraj, are you okay now? Can you speak now? Yes, so I think some people have covered ground. So you want to add anything?
Yes, sir. So probably in this ratio, what we are talking about, the political representation, nearly 100 plus seats that out of 224 that were total number of constituencies, they're from the northern part of the state, northern part of the state. However, what Vicky was mentioning about the people's representative themselves being one of the major roadblocks was bringing the development to that. That's very much true. That most of these people they hardly turn up to these areas and they look into the matters where really the implementation part is necessary. Just I would like to bring you one small example that near my village in northern part of Karnataka, in the current district of Haveri, while it was in Dharma district, the irrigation for the local river that called Varada. One of the lift irrigation project was installed that the Bhumi Puja was done way back in 1981 when it was commissioned in the year of 2021, the last year. So that is how, if that much of a speed that we work into, then definitely the people won't stay in that particular village, and probably capacity to what we calculated into, and that is also one of the major problem. And subsequently, there is a major shift, like the people who want the regular money, and because of the non-implementation of the irrigation project, though we had a really big, Tungabhadra, the Krishna upper, the upper Krishna, and also the Tungabhadra river projects, etc. We had fantastic dams, everything we have, but there is hardly any implementation. The water has not reached to the level of the farmers. That is also one of the reasons wherein the people started migrating from their areas, wherein they say that we don't do, like there is no further meaning in continuing in these villages. Rather than even after having 10 acres of land, they would prefer to work as a laborers in some other's land or some other hotel or somewhere in a cities like Bangalore, Mysore, Mangalore, again. So these areas that is also one of the migration is in my opinion, it is one of the major areas. Second part was the non-implementation of the Nanjung Commission's report. So one of the important part, wherein Dr. Nanjung, one of the finest economists that India had, So he traveled across Karnataka, and it was a commission from side of the Karnataka government, and he submitted a report way back a generation, like 25, almost 25 years has gone now. So he has submitted a report that which are the villages that are the backward villages, which are the areas that backward. What areas, what steps that we need to do to overcome this very challenge of the backwardness. But the governments have not given any scope, any read to even the very report they have constituted into. So even after 25 years of this very particular report being submitted to the state. So those are the things that make ignorance, basically the political ignorance, the leaders' ignorance. That is the main reason that why there exists an imbalance in two parts of the states.
Thank you so much. I think
Shreeraj, if I would like to just add one thing, is that when Shreeraj talks about the migrating from north to south is not exactly easy, because sir, if I say that Kannada is very different from what is spoken here. There have been times, when somebody has spoken to me in that dialect out there, 10, 15 words are not understood. Sometimes for a South Karnataka person, it can sound rude also. Sometimes, it's very different. Food habits are different. We are an akki roti culture. They are jolad roti cultures, so those kind of things also, it's very difficult to migrate. It's got great potential. I just hope our political leaders don't ignore that part of Karnataka.
I think this unwittingly we have come to a very interesting part. On a lighter note, I think Chhaya ji got a huge scope to start her Nectar Fresh in North Karnataka.
Hey, Ratanji, I have a different view here. I have a bit of a different view. I agree with Shreeraj ji when he mentioned about migration, but there is this attitude of ours to take life very easy in Karnataka. That is also somewhere, we say have this swalpa adjust madi, means let us adjust. That because I see a lot of them coming from UP, from Bihar, and you can see n number of them coming from Assam. All of them made their base here currently. Even in rural areas or two-tier cities, it's they who are coming and working it. And why I feel sad is more than the north and the south divide. I would Karnataka divide. I would again feel they have not capitalized the best that they have. Countries' pride R&D institutes like CFTRI, DFRL, they are based in our Karnataka. If you have not capitalized on technology transfers, if you have not made use of where the land is not fertile, grow superfoods. It's cash rich. It is taking things a bit easy attitude where I see it all around me. You need to be passionate. You need to be dedicated. It is we from Karnataka have this take it easy attitude.
Yeah, if I would like to add one more word to that Swalpa adjust madi, that one thing is that, we are very accommodating, nice people, but there's one word we should take off our vocabulary, and that is called as bejar karo. We are always sad. So that attitude, if we are able to change, I think we can do 100 times better.
On this wonderful note, if anybody wants to add last 1 minute comment each, we can add those comments, or we can close. So any of you who wants to add last minute comments, onto this entire discussion. Closing remark.
Yeah. With the blessings of Thai Chamundeshwari and Thai Kaveri, hope this blessed land of our Karnataka be a pride of Bharat always.
It always is. Yes, Shreeraj ji?
Yes, I must say that I would like to recall DVD at this time, and I must say that Yellorandagu Mankutimma. So let's be and unite and work for the greater good of everybody in this end. Thank you.
Great. Vicky?
Sir, it should always be the land of Tala Kaveri, Field Marshal, Onake Obawa, and not the land of resort politics. That's all. That's all I would like to say.
Just said so many things, just a few words. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with this, I close the discussion, and thank you all of you, Chhaya ji, Vicky, Shreeraj ji, for taking time out and educating people on what Karnataka really is beyond IT and venture funds. Thank you so much.
Thank you.